Yes, UPBOptionMillionaires.com on this Thursday, January 14, 2016. And after 2 weeks of nasty selling, today the selling abated. We were up over 2% before pulling back a little bit into the closing bell, but remained above this support line. And I talked about this morning, S&P 500 futures, you draw a trend line across. We bounced perfectly off of it. Could this be the start of a rally like we saw with the Ebola lows in 2014? Yeah, Ebola, how'd that work out? That's been all fixed from what I heard. Also, the August and September lows that we saw in 2015 ultimately led to much higher prices, up to the 2100 here for the S&P 500 futures. Is that where we are going to head, or is this going to be a quick head fake before we succumb to all that selling pressure everyone was looking for today? If you look from a chart perspective, the energy ETF XLE looks like it's putting in some sort of a low here. You can see these wicks you like to see on these reversals, and a lot of the reversals here, even in this downtrend, these wicks or rejection of lower prices has resulted in at least a 1 or 2 day rally, and that's what we're looking for here for XLE, possible move back up to 60 in the short term. Also, you look at XLP. I talked about this morning, the XLB consumer staples holding support up 0.5% today, remains above the trend line that goes all the way back to the start of 2015. So that's keeping things together. Also, if you look, the NASDAQ did not come down below that 100 level, and you can see support remains well below where it is now. A nice rejection of the lower prices here. And look at these wicks. Again, I'm talking about a big wick to the downside back in August of 2015. Another wick here. This is a weekly chart, so you can see these wicks rejecting the lower prices. That's good news if you're a short to medium term bull here. We'll see if those hold. The bond market pulled back a little bit today. I was just talking about the breakout this morning. Well, we're back in the consolidation here, this compression of prices that ultimately is going to lead to a sharp move. I think it's going to be to the downside, but that remains to be seen. Also, small caps, IWM, respected the $100 figure you see is 101.77. So we're on the cusp here, the precipice. Tomorrow is going to be another interesting trading session. We've got 4 trading sessions next week. Earnings really starting to come in. Next week, we have Netflix, IBM. Today, we have Intel after the bell. I got some puts for downside. We're at the 32 level. See where it opens tomorrow. But again, if you look at, could not put in a lower high at the start of 2015 to the end of 2015, put in a lower high for Intel. I know some people look at this as inverted head and shoulders. Much the same as I looked at this pattern here as a head and shoulders pattern into April of last year, and look at it, the selling pressure. So we'll see what happens tomorrow. It's going to be an interesting close to really the tremendous 2 weeks of trading for the market. A tailspin, and if you just look over the last 10 trading sessions, you can see what I'm talking about. We come into the year, and it's just been a melt to the downside, with a lot of the rips at the open getting sold off, namely the one yesterday with this dramatic sell-off, despite today's almost 2% rally, and then ultimately 1.64% move to the upside for the S&P 500 ETF. The spiders was not able to reclaim the highs of yesterday. Could you believe it? We were up near 195 yesterday on the SPY before closing near 189, the $6 reversal. We recovered a lot of those losses, but you can draw a trend line across here and make a case for a bearish scenario. Heading into tomorrow, I look at S&P 500 futures. I think the support is key. I think today we made a pretty nice low here, and at least a possibility looms for a nice bounce into February. Something that could be short-lived over the longer term in 2016, but something possible tradable bounce. You can see stocks like Twitter, which was beaten down over 6% today, coming back. Twitter under the $18 level, basically handing away the calls this morning when it dropped to near 17 bucks. The $18 calls were 27 cents. Got some at optionmillionaires.com, put on the private Twitter feed, and you can see the move up we had closed at 19. So it's, some of these beaten down stocks heading into the year are at least going to see a relief rally. All right, everyone, have a great evening. It's UPBOptionMillionaires.com. I'll see you in the chat room bright and early tomorrow. Have a great evening. Goodbye.